welcome back for lesson 4. Today we're going to do the thing that bamboozles so many new starters to Fusion 360 when they're looking at making clay cutters. We are going to be making imprint cutters today. There is just a quick recap. Lesson 1, we learned how to do basic cutters, different ways to do the cutter walls. Lesson 2 is resizing and scaling as well as fillets. Lesson 3, cut out donut shapes, how to make them. And using the mirror function and also building bridges as well to support the inner cuts. So today's imprint. Before we go on to that, we are going to, if you haven't done so already, we're going to go into a little feature because you've had 3 lessons now. That may be helpful. Remember when we do our first extrusion, so EFA extrusion, I'm just going to make it 3mm, a sketch disappears. Okay, so what we're going to do is go to your profile, go to preferences, wait for that to load up, and in the design, auto hide sketch on feature creation, tick that off, click apply, click OK, and then that will no longer happen. So let me just not save that, and let me show you now on a new sketch. You can see the sketch remains there, so if that's something that you want, instead of flicking the sketch back on after the first extrusion, you can do that. So let's start off with a blank worksheet. So again, the top view, create new sketch. So this design is going to be very similar to our previous one. It's going to be a petal leaf, but this is going to have imprint cutters. In future lessons, we will be going into more detailed imprint cutters. This one is just going to be kept simple, so you understand the features of it, and then we'll go more complex and take into account more tools with Fusion down the line. We'll also be doing bead rollers, texture rollers as well, but they are more advanced, so they will be down the line. So I'm going to start off with my 10cm line and create arc, 3-point arc. Ooh, escape, let's create a proper one. Okay, the mirror tool here, select this, the middle line is my mirror line, click OK, cut that. So remember, I have set my short key on the fillet to Shift and F. If you haven't set a short key and you want to, click the 3 dots, change keyboard shortcut, but mine is Shift and F, make that 1mm, make that one, and we're going to add dots and resize it. So select a point. There we go. And inspect from this point. Down to the bottom. So 99.728mm. Okay, I'm just going to remember that one. I'm going to add a point in though. So add the point in the middle, highlight all W, point in the center. So I want to be 100mm / which divide 99.782. Was that the number? I can't remember. Let's have a little look. Or 99.945. Let's quickly rescale that. I got the number wrong then. There we go. So that is our 10cm cutter. Now, like I said, we're going to keep the imprint quite simple for the moment. So I'm going to cover it all. Control C, or you can right click and you can select the copy. Click off that and just create a copy directly on top. I'm just going to move it up 20cm, that's fine. I'm going to snip off that top bit there. and I'm going to paste again. So Control V, and this time we're going to do 40. So this is basically going to be our design. Now we're going to create a bridge. So the area that I'm going to bridge, I'm going to do a line right down the middle. Now I personally, you will see some people, they will use these areas and completely fill them in as bridges, which I'll show you, but there's a reason why I don't like doing it that way that I will explain later. Okay. So let us just create a center circle, not a center circle, a center line. Or 10 millimeters one side, over offset, minus 10 the other. Okay, let's snip off the excess. And snip off the excess here. So I'm just going to see if I can get rid of some of these dots to make it a little bit simpler. Delete those. I don't need these ones here. Delete. Delete. It just makes it a little bit easier. You can, in your sketch things, get rid of points, construction, constraints, and if you've got dimensions, you can flag them on. I haven't put anything on a dimension. So these are cutters. So we're going to make a 4 centimeter one and a 2.5 centimeter one. So I'm just using this one that doesn't have the center bridge as an example for later on. But this is the one I'm going to be making in 2 sizes. Okay, so we'll make these ones 4 centimeters. So I'll highlight them both. Doesn't matter about the point. I'll select this one up here, 0.4. I'll drag this one, or scale this one. So W, select a point, select this middle one, 0.25. So this is 2.5 centimeters, and the other two are 4. I'm just going to bring that up. You want to check the sizes, and you can inspect. Make sure you get this top middle bit here. So you see that's 25. So we're going to set our offsets ready. If you remember in lesson 1, and we briefly discussed on lesson 2, I tend to do them in 2 ways. We're going to work on the way that I will do it. So O for offset, 1 millimeter out, O for offset, 3. And same for this, O for offset, 1 millimeter, O for offset, 3. O for offset, 1 millimeter, O for offset, 3. So that is my sketch all done then, so we can start extruding. Okay, so if you remember the surface, thin extrude, we're going to select these lines, and because I make my cutters 12 millimeters tall, I don't want imprints to cut all the way through, so I don't make them as tall as my cutting walls. So I normally have mine at 10.5 millimeters, so it will work on clay thicker than 1.5 millimeters. On clay 1.5 millimeters and thinner, it's not going to leave an imprint. If it's only just a little bit thicker, the imprint will be very, very light. Normally about 2 millimeters, the imprint will show nicely. It is up to you how much you want your imprint, how tall you want that. Obviously lower than the cutting wall, but take into account how thick people use their clay. So 10.5. Okay, So if you remember the thicken tool here, so Shift and, if you've set your keyboard shortcut, I have Shift and T. So Shift and T. So I want it going inwards, and I normally have mine minus 0.6. 0.6 tends to be my imprint wall lines. Okay. Now you can see that these imprints haven't gone all the way past. That is fine, that is normal. Okay, so we're going to use the orbit tool. We're going to pull it down. Now there is an extend tool. Quick look. I can't remember because I always use a shortcut. Oh no, it's extrude, sorry, it is still Eve extrude. So Eve extrude. See this wall here? We're going to make it 2 millimeters longer. Don't worry, we'll be cutting the excess off soon. And I'm going to work on that on these here. So 2 extrude, 2 extrude, 2. And I'm going to do the same on this one here. So E for extrude, 2, E for extrude, 2, E for extrude, 2, E for extrude, 2. Okay, so we can see my imprints now go past the wall, so we need to cut that off. So we're going to use the extrude tool again. We're going to select both this inner wall and this outer one because if you look, the imprint line goes onto that wall. Okay, now we're going to do a minus number. It's got to be bigger than the actual imprint wall. So I say minus 20. Oh wait, sorry. It'll automatically go to cut if you do it in a positive figure. So if I say 20, the operation will say cut. It's because there's already bodies in there. If this body wasn't in there, it would be a minus. Because there's already bodies in there here, leave it as a positive number. So 20, and as long as that says cut and the number is bigger than what you put in, great. Let me just show you in this one. But as you can see, that has cut them nicely all the way to the wall. Now, if I selected a number smaller than it, so if I say cut 5, okay, you will see it's only cut 5 millimeters upwards and left a gap there, which is not what we want. We want it all to be cut. There we go. Okay, so we are going to do a bridge next. So for this one, I have set the bridge here. I'm going to do it 2 millimeters and it's going to be a join, and that is that. Now, as I said before, like some people might use this pre-built in shape as a bridge, so they might kind of extrude here and go, yeah, they're happy with that, or they might decide to extrude here. I'll go into why in a bit more in a moment why I don't do that, but let us set our wall. So extrude in the surface tool, the inner line, we're making these 12. So Shift and T, the thicken tool, you can set your keyboard shortcut, it's there. So 0.44, 0.44, make sure it's operation join, E for extrude, and then the rest of this wall. So 10, set to join, E for extrude, set to 3. Okay, so those are 2 ways. So although this looks quite nice, it will take a little bit longer to print than this straight bridge line, but also when you're pressing against clay, what will happen is, because this is solid, no air can get in through there. So it's going to create a little bit of a vacuum with the clay, which could mean it's hard to pull out and you could end up damaging the piece. Whereas with this one here, oh, let me just flick to the top. There is air holes in every section, so it wouldn't suction and vacuum as much. So therefore, especially when you roll out clay on a piece of tile or marble, it tends to stick to the surface. That shouldn't impact, and it should leave a cleaner cut and probably not pull the piece off, and you wouldn't have to pull it away from the cutter. So let me just hide the one that we're not using. Let me just change it to free orbit. And let me get rid of the sketch. So that is our cutter there. We're just going to repeat because doing things repetitively does help. So we're just going to do the 2.5 as well. So extrude thin tool, both these, 10.5. And T for thicken, or if you haven't set it up, then it's a create, thicken. And like I said, I tend to do mine at 0.6, so I want them going upwards. There's no harm in letting them go down if you wanted them to, but you probably want to keep them unified. If you did want to go down, you can see the whole line has covered the shape, so it's not, 0.6. You can see there's no gap in it, like when you do a -6. And we have to extrude, but on smaller ones, so for example, if I was doing like a 0.15, this would be coming very close to this edge, and in some cases, the imprint might actually be so close to this it wouldn't leave a nice imprint. So you gauge it by the design, in all honesty, but I want it here, so -0.6, tilt, E for extrude, 2, E for extrude, 2, E for extrude, 2. Right, bear with me, I'm going to make a deliberate mistake on this one. Actually, let me make it on the top one. So let me just make this one 2. And say, for example, I actually typed 7. Okay, so I'm going to cut off the excess now. Because this area is not in a shape, I can't easily as cut it, but I'll go through. So what I would still do, I'd still cut off these areas here. So I'll do 20, that's set to cut, great. And this is its own body then. So I can hide that, or either extrude, click on that body, and -20. If I did tried clicking on that while I hadn't cut this, it would try to delete this whole body. So I would recommend you get rid of this first and then deal with that hangover and joined aspects separately. There's our imprint lines. 2, join, and that one, 12, shift and T, 0.44, join, E for extrude, join, E for extrude, 3, join, perfect. There is another extrude I also use for imprints as well. Let me just go back to the sketch. So click that down, click on the sketch, edit. I'm going to do this on the 2.5. So I'm going to copy that, paste it, pull it over here, finish the sketch. So go to select these 10.5, shift and T. Now, I'm not going to use the one side, I'm going to use symmetric because I normally use a 0.6 line. I need it to be 0.3 because 0.3 either side, so the line width will be 0.6 throughout. Same with this one. Until tap, extrude 2, extrude 2. Oh, where have I gone? Let me just get rid of that. I've somehow disappeared. Right, 3 orbit, extrude 2, extrude 2, extrude, say 20, that's cut off. And then top, we'll make the bridge. So we're making that 2 millimeters thick, we're making that a join. Then extrude, 12, shift and T or thicken, 0.44, flick that back to one side because we don't want that symmetric anymore. Join, extrude, 10, join, extrude, 3, join. So that is very simple way. There is one more I'm going to show you. I do apologise. I know it's not, we've done a few times, but certain different avenues sometimes need to be taken on different designs. So we will do a 2.5 one more time. So go back to sketch, edit sketch, highlight that. Now, in certain cases with certain lines, it doesn't like the thin extrude. So you might try to lift it up and thicken it, and it's not going to the thickness that you want. It's saying that there's a, I can't remember what the error is, but I'm sure in a future design it's going to come up. This can also happen with outside lines as well. So in this case then, we might offset these inner lines. So O for offset. So if I set this to be minus 0.6, O for offset, minus 0.6. Okay, so we need to modify, extend. So we're just closing these lines to the wall. Okay, and then what I want to do, I want to snip these lines away from inside. I'll show you why. I'll just do the top line, and I'll show you why I do this. So say, for example, that thin line extrude wasn't working, we would then make this be the thickness that I wanted. Did I set 0.6? Yeah, that's fine. So we'd go to solid, we'd set this as a wall then that we can just fill in, extrude, 10.5. Now, if I hadn't cut the lines, then I would have to go in, it's recognized in different areas because of this line gap line here. But because I cut them, it's just one area. So 10.5. Then extrude, would do the bridge. Join. Surface. 12, shift and T. 0.44. Join. 10. Join. Extrude. 3. And perfect. So we've got the, well, let me turn this back on. So we've covered a couple of ways. So one way that people do is not one that I prefer, like I said, because of the section. I do like each imprint area to have an air gap. So we've gone this way, which is we thicken the line shorter than the outside cut lines have a bridge. This one was the same, but in a smaller. This one, then we did a symmetrical thing, symmetrical thicken thing, great. The symmetrical thicken, so instead of being 0.6 going inwards, it's 0.3 either side of it. And then this one, we've set the offset in the sketch feature to move it 0.6 up, and we've used the sketch extend tool to finish the line off. So we've got that. And just so if you want to know very roughly how this would look as a polymer clay cutter, let me just get rid of these excess bodies. That's what I want. Join. As a Irving imprint, it would kind of look like this tribal kind of Aztec or simple pattern Irving then. And there we go. And as we've covered in previous lessons, if you wanted to save the cutters, it is. Let me just get this all back in. So it is a right click, save as mesh, click OK. You select the folder that you want. So I think I've got my tutorial one here. So new, lesson 4. So label it how you understand. So I know this is a 25mm imprint leaf cutter. And click save. And there we go. So that's all saved. Okay, so that is this lesson done. There's quite a few other things that we will be covering with imprints, probably do another, 3-4 lessons minimum before moving off the topic, but this is a very basic beginner's lesson to it. I know I have had a couple of requests from somebody to show how to do a couple of cutters in my shop. I am going to pop my cults link down below, so if you do want to have a look through, see if there's anything see if there's anything that you want to learn, and I can put that forward for a future lesson. Next lesson, it will be another imprint one. It will probably be a flower, because I want to teach you how to use a circular pattern, which is in the sketch. I'll show it to you now. So create circular pattern. That's really good for making flowers. So we'll cover that in the next lesson. That will have imprints on it as well. And future lessons, they will be covering more of exactly how I make my STL packs. So it will be a course of probably about, I think it's eight cutters, probably 60mm, 55, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30, 25. That's the normal range, depending on if the design allows it, that I tend to do my STL packs. So there will be a lot of repetition, but repetition does help your memory in learning where the tools are, your speed, learning how to fix certain things. And we'll be doing it on a live basis. You will see, not on a live basis, I will be recording it, but you'll be coming across any errors that Fusion has with my designs. You will see it live, see how I fix it, how I work around, how I problem solve as well. Also as well, a future lesson probably in the next couple will be importing canvases, SVGs, DXF files as well, because I know a lot of you do work from them. I will probably make a little video pack for that, because of commercial reasons. I don't want to use somebody else's DXF file or SVG, so I'll probably create my own. There is Adobe Illustrator that I do use. So if any of you do use that and are familiar with it, that might be a tool that might help you in the future. But otherwise for now, cults link will be down the bottom if you want to pop a like, if you want to pop a comment with what you'd like to see, and I can add it to my lesson plan. But otherwise, thank you so much. You take care.